are the biggest gaming leaks and news you've probably missed this week. Let's talk about Crimson Desert for a second, and by a second, I mean about 5 minutes. I'll be real with you. My hype for Crimson Desert just tanked. When it was first revealed, I was sitting at a solid 9 out of 10, convinced this could be something groundbreaking. But after this latest gameplay slice, it feels stripped down, less magical, almost like a different game. I'm not saying it looks terrible, but the excitement I had has dropped hard, down to maybe a 4. At this point, it's not a day one purchase for me. It's more of a wait and see how it actually plays kind of deal. Is Crimson Desert Downgrade that bad? Let's explore together. The new 13-minute gameplay slice that Pearl Abyss dropped on August 15, 2025 swings the camera through sieges, cannon volleys, and a Cassius Morton boss fight. It is big, loud, and far more readable than older demos. It also looks flatter in spots. You can catch reduced post-processing bloom, milder depth of field, and more visible LOD swaps during fast traversal, which makes the image feel less hyper-cinematic than the Gamescom 2023 showpiece. That fresh demo is real and timed for Gamescom and PAX West. Compare that to the Gamescom opening night live 2023 trailer. That reel leaned hard into moody lighting, dramatic DOF, and heavy volumetrics over short curated cuts. It sold a vibe. The new cut sells systems. When you switch from a minute-long sizzle to long, unbroken combat and exploration, all the tricks that hide pop-in and texture shifts disappear, so the presentation naturally looks less pristine. Hands-on previews this summer back that up. Multiple outlets praised the spectacle and combat, but hinted at rough edges, the kind you only notice once you are playing rather than watching. That tracks with what we see in the new footage. It feels like Pearl Abyss has shifted from proving we can render anything to we can ship an open world. There is also timing context. The game just moved from late 2025 to Q1 2026. Pearl Abyss cited Polish and certification realities. A push like this usually comes with an optimization pass that tempers aggressive effects and chooses stable settings for consoles. That can read as a downgrade even if the underlying assets are the same. Engine changes matter. Pearl Abyss has been evangelizing Black Space as a highly interactive tech stack. At GDC 2025, they showed off Sit Anywhere object logic and systemic clutter. As you scale interactivity across a whole map, budgets shift from eye candy to simulation. Fewer aggressive screen space effects and gentler volumetrics, free GPU time for physics, crowd counts, AI, and I/O. The end result looks plainer in a trailer but plays richer moment to moment. Pop-in and streaming are the giveaway. Even last winter, coverage flagged pop-in in longer demos. The latest video still shows quick LOD swaps on foliage and rooftops during high-speed pans. That is not proof of asset cuts. It is how many large worlds hit a 60 frames per second target while keeping traversal snappy. If they lock this in and tune per platform, it is a sensible trade. If it is still obvious by launch, then it is a problem. Art direction has shifted too. The 2023 reel pushed high contrast lighting that made metals glint and skin shaders pop. The August 20th 25 demo uses flatter daytime lighting for legibility in busy fights and siege shots. That helps players read tells and AoE shapes, but shaves off that showroom shine. Again, not necessarily a hard cut to fidelity, more a different choice to favor clarity in full gameplay. Performance targets influence everything. IGN's live comments from June called the demo a 4K 60 showpiece without AI assist, which suggests they are tuning for stable frame rate first. When your KPI is frame time, heavy SSR are, fog volumes and long shadow cascades are the first things to temper. That would line up with the cleaner but less stylized look people are reacting to now. Expectations are also part of the story. Early sizzle cuts set a bar that no free camera 10-minute sequence can keep up with. Once you watch full boss fights and town runs, you see camera cuts, crowd LODs, traversal hitching, and texture anisotropy in motion. The upside is, we finally see systems breathing together. Cannons, rope swings, mounted combat, and big encounter scripting. The downside is, the magic trick sheen fades. So is it a real downgrade? In places, yes. Lighting is less dramatic, post-FX are toned down, and LOD behavior is more visible. But the broader picture looks like a pivot to shippable settings, and a focus on scale and interactivity ahead of a 2026 launch. If Pearl Abyss spends the delay tightening streaming, improving foliage and shadow stability, and selectively reintroducing stylization where it helps, the final game could split the difference. For now, the woe factor from 2023 has been traded for a more honest slice of the game they intend to release. So, let's dive in. Battlefield 6 Open Beta. It just started, and guess what? Yup, cheaters already crawling out of the woodwork. Like, bro, the game isn't even fully out, and people are already wall hacking. EA's got this Javelin anti-cheat thing. Plus, you gotta turn on that hardware level security, but nah. Clips of cheaters are all over Twitter. One video even blew up with over 5 million views. DICE's producer Alexia Christian already confirmed that guy's banned, but still, man, it's messy. EA's bragging that their systems blocked like 330,000 cheating attempts already. Day one alone had 44,000 reports, then another 60,000 the next day. That's insane. And yeah, they're saying, keep reporting, we're on it, which is fine, but you know how this goes. Cheaters never disappear, they just get smarter. The crazy part is, Battlefield's actually doing really well on Steam. Last weekend, it pulled over 500,000 players. This weekend, almost 400K, third most played game on the whole platform. That's big. Full release is October, and I just really hope cheaters don't ruin it. And apparently, that secure boot thing EA's forcing isn't to stop cheats completely. It's just to make banning them easier. So yeah, cheaters are gonna be around. We're just counting on EA to smack them out fast enough. Fingers crossed. So here's the latest drama. GTA 6's story mode length. And gamers? Yeah, we're split right down the middle on this one. Some people want it short and punchy, others want it long and meaty. And honestly, there's no right answer. Think about it. This is the most anticipated game of all time. I don't even need data to back that up. Just look at the hype. We've been waiting since Red Dead 2, and now that it's finally within reach, people are already stressing about how long the story will be. Not because they don't trust Rockstar, but because of one big modern problem: spoilers. The second this game drops, you already know what's going to happen. People are gonna blitz through Jason and Lucia's story in like 2 days. And boom! The whole internet will be filled with spoilers. That ending you've been waiting 10 years for? Some random dude on Facebook is gonna post it before you even finish your first heist. I've seen people on the GTA 6 subreddit already debating their game plan. Some are like, I'm taking my time, I want to enjoy the ride, while others are saying, nah, I'm going all in, 48 hours, no sleep, gotta see the ending before it gets ruined. And honestly, I get both sides. For me, I'll have to burn through it quick because, well, I cover this stuff. I can't risk being behind on the conversation. But if you're just playing for fun, take your sweet time. Turn off notifications, block every variation of GTA 6 on Twitter, mute Reddit threads, unplug from the internet if you have to. Because let's be honest, we've waited over a decade for this game. Don't let some random spoiler junkie ruin the experience. Here's the thing. When people argue about GTA 6's story length, it helps to look back at what Rockstar has done before. GTA 5's story mode clocks in at around 30 to 35 hours if you stick to the main missions. That's not insane by modern standards, but it felt perfect at the time. You had 3 characters, multiple heists, all that chaos, and it never dragged too long. Now compare that to Red Dead Redemption 2. That game, easily 50 hours just for the main story. And if you're like me, taking your time, hunting, fishing, exploring every inch of the map, you're looking at 80 to 100 hours. It was huge, but a lot of people also felt it overstayed its welcome, especially in those slower story beats. So if GTA 6 lands closer to GTA 5's length, say 30 to 40 hours, it's probably going to feel more short and sweet. But if it leans more toward RDR2's length, buckle up, because you're in for months of playing. That's the tension right now. Do we want something snappy that respects your time, or a giant epic that could take you all summer to finish? Either way, Rockstar can't really win. If it's too short, people will say, "We waited a decade for this." If it's too long, people will complain it's bloated. Personally, I think somewhere in the middle, 40 to 50 hours would be the sweet spot. Enough to feel like an event, but not so long that you're burned out before the credits roll. You know, this industry used to thrive on risk. You'd take an idea, pour your soul into it, and hope, pray it would explode. That's the magic. That's the rush. But now, things are changing. Shawn, former head of PlayStation Worldwide Studios, put it bluntly. They're not creating value, putting it in the marketplace, hoping it explodes, and profit sharing and overages and all that nice stuff. You pay me X dollars an hour, I built you a game, here, go put it on your servers. And then he drops the phrase that's got everyone talking: wage slaves. See, to him, subscription services like Gamepass strip away the reward of success. No profit share, no big wins, just a paycheck for hours worked. And he's not stopping there. There's a lot of debates going on. Is Game Pass profitable? Is Game Pass not profitable? What does that mean? That's really not the right question to ask anyway. The real issue for me on things like Game Pass is it healthy for the developer? Healthy for the developer. That's the heartbeat here. Because if you ask him, you can twist the books any way you want. What he calls financial jiggery-pokery. But if the people making the games aren't thriving, what's the point? He even compares it to music. Remember when albums were events? You'd save up, buy it, own it. Then streaming came along, and suddenly we all thought music was free. Layden fears the same fate for games, that we start seeing them as disposable background noise instead of art. So yeah, Game Pass might be great for players, but for the people actually making the games, it might be a slow trade of passion for predictability. And if that happens, what happens to the soul of gaming? Rafael Colantonio, founder of Arcane Studios, he didn't hold back. "I think Game Pass is an unsustainable model that has been increasingly damaging the industry for a decade, subsidized by MS's infinite money. I don't think GP can coexist with other models. They'll either kill everyone else or give up." His message is crystal. He sees Game Pass as a chemical that's poisoning the industry's ecosystem, powerful now, but eventually deadly to other business models and creative voice. Some worry that Game Pass deals favor reach over revenue, especially for indie titles. Quiet successes on the service often don't translate into actual purchases. Remedy's FBC Firebreak landed in Game Pass, gaining 1 million players, but its PC sales tanked, onboarding got shaky, and most players didn't buy the game outright. Still, insiders point out that Game Pass is profitable, even after adjustments for cannibalized first-party sales. Xbox says their profit models account for that, and the numbers still hold. Game Pass has boosted engagement, but at what cost? With Microsoft trimming studios, canceling projects, and laying off thousands, critics argue the model may be stretching the development supply chain too thin. Regulatory bodies have also flagged concerns that Game Pass strategies could reduce competition and weaken other distribution paths. PS Plus giveth, and PS Plus taketh away. Lately, it's actually been kind of wild. PlayStation's subscription lineup has been stacked. Just last month, we got Cyberpunk 2077 added, which was the perfect excuse for me to jump back into Night City. And oh man, it's still so worth it. I played it so much that I hit that dreaded pop-up. From here on out, you won't be able to do some side quests. Basically, the game's way of telling you, "Hey Ashley, you're about to hit the end game." That message scared me so bad. I literally unplugged my PS5 just to make sure I didn't accidentally lock myself out. No joke. And after that, I still sunk another 10 hours in, just tying up side quests. But now, here we are in August, and PS Plus is serving up Spider-Man 2018 Remastered. That's a big one. You can't deny PS Plus subscribers have been eating good lately. But, and there's always a but, like I said at the start, PS Plus giveth, and PS Plus taketh away. Because along with Spidey swinging in, we're losing another 14 games this month. Now, let's be real here. The biggest losses this month are The Witcher 3 and Jedi Survivor. Personally, I don't really feel that Witcher hit because, come on, what gamer on this planet doesn't already own The Witcher 3? Be honest, you probably have it sitting in your library right now, even if you've never touched it. But Jedi Survivor, that one stings. I know a lot of you skipped it when it first dropped because the reviews were brutal. Broken performance on both PC and consoles, constant bugs, frame drops, all that drama. And honestly, on PC, it's still rough even today. But let me tell you, on PS5, and especially on the PS5 Pro, it runs great now. That whole flickering PSSR issue that was blowing up headlines earlier this year, fixed. I played through Jedi Survivor earlier this year, and I've got to say, it's frickin' awesome. Like solid 9 out of 10 awesome. If you haven't touched it yet, now is the perfect time before it leaves PS Plus. And I'll be honest, you'll probably like it so much that after 5 or 6 hours, you'll end up buying the full game. It's dirt cheap these days. I saw it bundled with Fallen Order last Christmas for like 15 bucks. Even right now, you can snag it for 10 to 20 bucks if you keep an eye out. Okay, so Marvel Rivals. This game's been doing numbers since it launched, but right now, everybody's talking about one thing: the swimsuit skins. Yeah, they dropped this big summer event with characters like Psylocke and Mantis rocking some, let's just say, very generous designs. And of course, the internet instantly slapped it with the Gooner Game label. Depending on who you are, that's either a compliment or an insult. And look, I get it. Some people are like, yo, this is just fan service. But come on, have you seen The Thing in a Thong? Literal masterpiece. They even called it The Thong. That went viral instantly, and I swear, it should be the best-selling skin in the game. In my heart, at least, it already is. Game director Guan Yun Chen actually addressed all the chatter, saying the outfits are inspired by classic comic book themes, but with a fashionable twist to make them fresh. And honestly, he's right. Comics have always been a little wild, a little sexy, and that's fine. It's not just about making female characters eye candy either. Everyone's getting in on it. The Thing is out here being loud, wide, and proud. Equality, baby. So yeah, people are calling it fan service, but I don't see the problem. Sexy's not a bad thing. I feel like for a whole decade we pretended it was. Like, it wasn't allowed to exist. But nah, it's back. And as long as it's balanced, not just ladies, but guys too, I'm all for it. The event ends today though, so if you want those skins, better grab them while you can. Honestly, I don't even play Marvel Rivals, but these skins almost got me tempted to log in. Almost. Okay, so let me tell you about this Ghost of Yotë State of Play, because honestly, it was one of the best showcases Sony's done in a while. It wasn't just another montage stuffed inside a summer event. This was a full 20-minute spotlight dedicated only to Yotë. And the crazy part? It actually pulled more views than Sony's entire June State of Play that had a bunch of games in it. That says a lot. People really care about this one. So here's what they showed. You're playing as Atsu, a mercenary in Hokkaido, out for revenge against the Yotë 6. The showcase made it clear you don't just march down a straight path. You can go after these targets in different orders, which already feels fresher than Tsushima. Combat looked slick. They really focused on the weapons. We've already seen spotlights for the Kusarigama and the Yari spear, and there's still katana, odachi, dual blades, and ranged tools waiting in the wings. Every weapon has its own brutal style, so it feels like you're picking your flavor of violence. They also talked exploration. Remember how Tsushima kind of got repetitive with fox dens and haikus? They flat out said that's not happening this time. Secrets won't just be the same mini-games over and over. Outcomes will actually change, and curiosity is meant to be rewarded in different ways. Visually, they showed off some cinematic presets. Of course, Kurosawa Mode is back, black and white with Japanese lip sync, but they teased other filters too. And man, the art team went off. The Yotë 6 designs are wild. The snake, the kitsune, Lord Saito, the oni, the spider, and the dragon. Each one looks like a boss fight you'll remember. They also touched on the pacing. The main story will take around 25 hours, with side content stretching it to 50 or 60 if you're a completionist. So it's not some bloated 100-hour grind, but it still feels epic. One thing they didn't talk about: Legends multiplayer. When asked, Nate Fox dodged it and said their full focus is single player right now, which probably means if it exists, it's a reveal it later situation. And of course, Sony paired the showcase with some extras: limited edition PS5 designs, themed accessories, and pre-order bonuses like an in-game mask. So yeah, that showcase really set the tone. Ghost of Yotë is aiming to be tighter, moodier, and more varied than Tsushima, while keeping the scope about the same. And judging by those numbers, the hype is real. Now here's what I want to know. Would you rather rather Sony keep doing these single game showcases? Or do you still prefer the big multi-game events? So, Wuchang Fallen Feathers, Souls-like Ming Dynasty vibes, solid game. But the latest update? Players are pissed. Patch 1.5 quietly rolled out, and suddenly you can't kill certain bosses or NPCs anymore, specifically the ones based on real historical figures. Instead of dying, they just kinda collapse in exhaustion, Pokemon faint style, and then they'll sometimes give you new dialogue. And yeah, this completely reworks the story. Whole character motivations don't make sense now. Steam reviews are tanking, people calling it censorship. You got folks like Lance McDonald straight up saying this was done because of pressure from Chinese players who didn't like seeing historical figures killed in-game. And honestly, that lines up. The wild part is, this isn't just a little tweak, it changes the tone of the whole story. Some fights are now easier because half the enemies just don't fight you. It messes with that central theme of impermanence, that whole Souls-like vibe of nothing lasting forever. And a lot of people aren't having it. One reviewer literally said, plot change made the story completely different. Some characters' motivations are now pointless. I've decided to stop playing. That's brutal, but fair. And look, I've been waiting for this moment. We all know the movie industry bends over backwards for the Chinese market. Games? It was only a matter of time. Wuchang feels like the first really obvious example. And now, the blowback has started. It's kinda like, for decades, we were used to games being changed for us, Western audiences. But now that we're seeing games changed for other cultures, it feels different. It feels invasive. It feels like, wait, that's not how it's supposed to work. But nah, this is the reality now. Global market. So, here's the thing. A lot of people online started saying Valve had this big fallout with PayPal, like they stormed out of a meeting and slammed the door behind them over censorship and ID checks. But the truth? It's not nearly as dramatic as that. Though, in its own way, it's worse. PayPal didn't exactly break up with Valve. They just quietly pulled the rug out. Out of nowhere, most currencies were cut off. Imagine walking into your local store with cash you've been using for years, and suddenly the cashier says, sorry, we don't take that anymore. Only dollars, euros, pounds, yen, a handful of others. That's basically what happened to Steam users. Valve didn't want it. Players sure as hell didn't want it. But the bank behind PayPal said nope, and that was that. Valve just had to stand there and tell us, yeah, we're trying to fix it, but don't hold your breath. But then there's the other fire, and this one is way messier, the censorship fight. See, groups like Collective Shout went after Visa, MasterCard, and PayPal, calling them out for hosting adult games on Steam. And the card networks, terrified of their brand image being dragged through the mud, started cracking the whip. Valve was literally told by payment processors, hey, if you keep certain games up, you might lose the ability to process payments altogether. That's not just one or two titles on the line, that's Steam itself. And Valve, as defiant as they wanted to be, had to cave. They even pointed to MasterCard's own rules, saying processors cited Rule 5.1.2.7, the one about brand-damaging transactions. And you know what MasterCard did? They tried to wash their hands of it. Publicly, they said, no, we allow all lawful purchases. Meanwhile, Valve was like, guys, don't gaslight us. Your own processors threw your rulebook at us. It's like your landlord saying, you can have pets, no problem, while the building manager is taping eviction notices to your door because your cat's scratching the wallpaper. Now, throw into the mix the whole ID verification drama. Everywhere online, companies are rolling out new ways to check your age, from clunky passport uploads to YouTube experimenting with AI that stares at your face and guesses how old you are. And while that's definitely creeping into the gaming world too, it's important to separate it from the PayPal mess. Valve's PayPal problem wasn't about IDs, it was about currencies. The censorship war, that's the payment networks flexing their muscles. So, to put it simply, two fires burning at the same time. One is a boring, technical fire, PayPal cutting off currencies. The other is a cultural fire, payment networks quietly shaping what games are allowed to exist. And caught in the middle, Valve, Steam, and all of us trying to buy a damn game without jumping through hoops. And just when you think it couldn't get any worse, here comes the attack on encrypted messaging. You know how WhatsApp, Signal, Telegram, and all these apps always sell you on the idea that your messages are private? End-to-end encryption. Nobody can peek in, not even the company itself. Well, governments hate that. They're now pushing to force these apps to build backdoors. Basically, a master key that lets them unlock every conversation if they want to, which sounds harmless on the surface. Don't worry, we'll only use it to stop crime. But let's be real. Once that backdoor exists, it's not just governments walking through it. Hackers, scammers, anyone with the skills and the motive, they'll find their way in. That means your private chats, compromised. Your credit card info, exposed. Bank logins, health data, personal photos, all of it suddenly sitting in a room with the door wide open. They're killing the very concept of encrypted messaging, the one last shield we had online. It's like buying a safe to keep your valuables protected, and then the government forces the company to make a universal skeleton key, and they leave it under the doormat. At that point, why even bother having the safe? And here's the kicker. They'll spin it like it's all for our safety. We need access to stop criminals, protect children, fight terrorism. But the truth is, they're not just stopping criminals, they're stopping privacy itself. And once you kill encryption, control, you're giving every bad actor on the planet a free shot at your most personal information. So yeah, say goodbye to the idea that your chats are yours. Because the second they force WhatsApp or Signal or whoever to build that backend, the whole thing collapses. And we're left more vulnerable than ever before. You ever notice how all of this feels like we've slipped into a mashup of movies we used to laugh at? Like, take The Truman Show. Jim Carrey stuck in this fake world, his entire life broadcast, every move controlled, everyone in on the joke but him. That was supposed to be satire. Now, look at us. Tracked by cookies, our data sold off, every click logged. Except in our case, it's not a TV audience watching, it's corporations and governments. Or Snowden. And that wasn't even fiction, that was reality. He literally pulled back the curtain and said, "Hey, the government's spying on you." Everyone freaked out for a week, then shrugged it off. Fast forward to now, and what Snowden revealed looks tame compared to what they're openly rolling out. Back then, it was a scandal. Today, it's just policy. Then you've got Minority Report. Remember the ads calling you by name as you walk down the street? The government arresting you for crimes you haven't even committed yet? That used to be science fiction. Now we've got targeted ads that follow us from website to website, and governments demanding ID verification before you even log in. We're not that far off from being guilty before proven innocent. And hovering over all of this is George Orwell's 1984. Big Brother, Thought Police. The idea that privacy doesn't exist. That book was written as a warning. Now it's practically a user manual. We laughed at the idea of telescreens in every home. But let's be real. Aren't our phones basically that? Always listening, always watching, always reporting back? But here's the thing, this isn't set in stone. We've seen pushback before. Remember when SOPA and PIPA were about to pass? The entire internet basically revolted. Websites went dark, users shouted loud enough that lawmakers had to slam the brakes. And that was over piracy laws. Compared to what's happening now, that was peanuts. If people came together then, they can do it again. So how do we stop it? First, awareness. Most people don't even know this is happening. They hear age verification or child protection and go, "Oh, that sounds fine." But they don't see the slippery slope. Today it's kids, tomorrow it's everyone. Talking about it, calling it out, not letting them spin it as harmless safety, that's step one. Second, support privacy tools while we still can. VPNs, encryption, extensions, decentralized platforms. Yeah, they're clunky. Yeah, they cost money. But they're also our last line of defense. And if they make them illegal, that's when you know we're really in dangerous territory. And third, honestly, it's voting, it's lobbying, it's making noise. Politicians only care about two things: votes and money. And when enough people scream, "Stop spying on us," they'll listen, at least long enough to backpedal. The scariest part isn't that they're trying to pull this off. The scariest part is that they're doing it out in the open, almost daring us not to care. It's like they're saying, "Yeah, we're watching. What are you gonna do about it?" So what's next? That depends on us. Do we roll over and let them turn the internet into North Korea light? Or do we remember that this place, the internet, was built on freedom, creativity, and rebellion? Because if we don't fight for it now, there might not be anything left worth fighting for later. All right, next up, Clair Obscur. Expedition 33 is a breakout hit, pulling massive praise from critics and players alike, but its own director says the win doesn't mean the bias against turn-based RPGs has magically disappeared. Creative director Guillaume Broche told Automaton Media that while Japanese turn-based RPGs RPGs were once hugely popular, especially up until the Xbox 360 era. The rise of open-world games in mainstream gaming coverage helped push them into the uncool category. He thinks that shift is still shaping the market today, even with the game's success. The numbers back him up. Sure, there are exceptions, like the Persona series, which continues to sell extremely well, but most modern RPG heavy hitters have leaned toward real-time combat. Even Final Fantasy, once the gold standard for turn-based systems, has gone all in on fluid, reaction-heavy combat. Let me hit you with recent entries. How could Sony possibly sell the PS5 Pro in 2026 for $699 and then just a year or two later drop the PlayStation 6 at $499? Doesn't that sound completely backwards? I mean, since when do you get triple the performance for $200 less? And if that's true, does that mean Sony's about to pull the same playbook they used before? The one that completely shifted the console wars? Premium mid-gen refreshes have never dictated the price of the next generation. Look at the PS4 Pro. It launched at $399, and everyone thought the PS5 would break past $500 because of it. Nope. PS5 launched right at $499. Xbox did the same. The Xbox One X launched at $499 in 2017, and then the Series X, same $499 price tag 3 years later. These mid-gen machines are like luxury trim models. They're not meant to set the baseline. They're stopgaps for enthusiasts who want more power, while the rest of the world waits for the clean reset. And that reset usually comes at what I call the magic number, $499. It's not random. It's psychological. It feels like the sweet spot where it's powerful, but still attainable. The PS4 blew up partly because it launched at $399, while Xbox stumbled out at $499. The price alone tilted the generation. Sony knows how much this number matters, and if they can deliver the PS6 at $499, they've instantly framed it as the accessible next-gen powerhouse. But here's where people get tripped up. You might be thinking, there's no way they can sell triple the performance at that price without going bankrupt. And you'd be right. If consoles were built to make money at launch, they're not. The PS5 sold at a loss for months. Sony only broke even once production costs dropped. This is how the business works. They eat the loss upfront, then make it back through games, services, accessories, and PlayStation Plus subs. The box is the gateway. They don't need profit on day one. They need players locked in. And by 2027, the cost of tech that feels expensive today will have shrunk. Smaller chips, better yields, cheaper cooling solutions. Sony has already been stealth-cutting the PS5's bill of materials with lighter heat sinks and die shrinks. So here's where my skepticism kicks in. The PS5 Pro is out. It's real, and it costs $699 today. If Sony keeps that price into 2026 without knocking it down, how the hell are they going to convince me the PlayStation 6 is going to launch at $499? It doesn't add up. Look at history. The PS4 Pro was $399. Then the PS5 launched at $499. That's a straight $100 climb. Now fast forward, PS5 Pro is $699. If the same pattern holds, doesn't that set us up for at least $599, maybe even $699 PS6? Why would Sony train its audience to accept a $700 console and then suddenly roll back $200 for next gen? That feels like wishful thinking. And yeah, people will say, well, the Pro is the premium, the PS6 resets to mass market. Sure, that's the theory, but the fact Sony was willing to push to $699 at all shows you the ceiling they're comfortable with now. Combine that with inflation, rising chip costs, and just the way gaming hardware has crept up in price every generation, and honestly, $499 feels like a fantasy. The only way I see it happening is if Sony takes a huge loss per unit just to blow the doors off adoption. But ask yourself, do you really see Sony doing that in 2027 after years of showing investors how profitable PlayStation has become? They raised PS5 prices outside the US back in 2022. They didn't hesitate to charge $200 more for Pro. Do they sound like a company eager to eat billions just to say, hey look, we're back at $499? If anything, I think $699 is the most logical launch price for PS6. At best, maybe $599 if they want to soften the blow. But $499? That's not just aggressive, that's borderline unrealistic, unless Sony shocks us with some wild subsidy strategy. And honestly, given where the industry's at, I'm not betting on it. Man, all I see lately is that ever since Trump walked back into the White House, everything feels more expensive. And the tech industry, it's basically the poster child for it. The perfect example, this year's new GPUs. Nvidia dropped the RTX 50 series, AMD launched the RX 9000 cards, and what did we actually get? More marketing, more AI buzzwords, and prices that make your wallet cry. Like, seriously, remember when a new GPU generation felt like a leap? The 10 series, the 20 series, hell, even the 30 series had some real-world wow factor. Now, the RTX 5090 shows up with a price tag that looks like a used car loan, and when you actually benchmark it, you're looking at, what? Maybe a 5% real-world uplift over the 4090 in standard rasterized games. That's not a generational jump, that's a rounding error. And it gets worse. These companies are playing dirty with fake MSRPs. They'll announce, hey, the RTX 5080 is $999, and everyone claps until you realize good luck actually finding one at that price. The real shelf price is hundreds more, inflated by partners, by limited supply, by tariffs. Suddenly, that $999 MSRP feels more like a PR stunt than a promise. AMD's not innocent either. Same game. Talk big about efficiency and AI enhancements. But the gains are incremental at best. And let's not gloss over the AI spin. Every press release now screams about AI upscaling and AI compute performance. But here's the dirty little secret. Most of us don't care. We care about frame rates, about smooth gameplay, about real-world performance. Upscaling is nice, but it's a band-aid, not a revolution. If the raw performance jump from 40 series to 50 series is barely 5% in real games, why are we paying 20 to 30% more? The answer? Because they can. Tariffs on imports are back in play, inflation's still kicking, and these companies know gamers are trapped in the ecosystem. PC enthusiasts can't exactly skip forever. At some point, if your card dies, you're stuck paying whatever Nvidia or AMD asks. And right now, under this economic climate, they're asking for blood. So yeah, when people say everything is more expensive now, GPUs are Exhibit A. Trump's tariff policies drove costs up. Nvidia and AMD saw a chance to bake that into their pricing. And now every new launch feels less like an upgrade and more like a tax on gamers. We're paying more, we're getting less, and they're calling it progress.